Hey everyone, I know it's been a minute, actually it's been a few minutes, and I apologize for that, but something came up recently and I really need to talk about it, and a lot of other people are talking about it as well, so I'm kind of hopping on the bandwagon here, but I kind of want to offer a bit of a different take, so please hear me out on this one. The IO community is genuinely self-destructing right now, and I cannot stand it anymore. Over the camera changes, over anything that comes out, essentially, it's just war and death, and pain and misery, and there's nothing else. And the reaction to the camera changes and a vid from someone in my Discord server, come check it out by the way, really opened my eyes to how awful this community has become. Or maybe it's always been this way and I just haven't noticed for the 5 or so years that I've been a part of it. So the guy in question, he has a YouTube channel, Dinosaurs and More, go check it out. And he basically commented on a Reddit post, and he was agreeing with someone that the community is overly toxic, especially in the Reddit, which is totally valid, and he didn't even make the original post, he just agreed with it and said that yes, it is overly toxic. And what did he get for that? A ban! Like, the irony of that is insane, and it's just so wild. Like, how have we devolved so much that someone, like, trying to say that the community is being too toxic ends up in a toxic reaction? I've kind of noticed that everyone in the IO community, at least most people, are just doomers. Like, they think everything is going poorly with the game, and they almost thrive on this constant high that they get for bashing it. And it's just so sad to see all the time when people who should be just enjoying the game and criticizing it in a healthy way are just pummeling it instead because it's the only enjoyment that they can get out of it. And in that case, just leave. If you are genuinely so upset by all of these changes, so upset by all of these actions, then just don't be a part of it anymore. It's not healthy for you, it's not healthy for other people, and it's especially not healthy for the poor devs. They're trying to work on this game, and all they ever receive is backlash, even if it's not warranted. And another issue that I've been seeing is a lot of people are calling dev simps, or however you want to call that, but basically, if you disagree with someone, they're automatically a dev simp. And that's just not fair. Although I do think there is something to be said for people that just kind of go along with whatever the devs say and have really weird explanations for it, even if they don't really make sense, then sure, criticize those people, but don't bash on them. And second, don't just call everyone a dev simp, because it's just not the case. If you're putting out all this toxicity in the community and saying everyone is so toxic, then how are you excluding yourself from that? It's just not fair to anyone to be like that all the time, and it's obnoxious and lacks self-reflection. Although one thing that I do think is fair to criticize is this constant need for realism in the IO. First of all, the IO is not realistic. Its immersive experience isn't that good, especially when you have 30 frames per second on a good day. And games like most recently, Helldivers 2, can take a completely wacky concept and make it feel way more grounded than the IO. So, realism being a thing in the IO is fine. You want it to have immersion, you want it to feel real, but the way they're carrying it out is really weird and obnoxious. For example, all of the stamina changes, it's for realism. It's not for enjoyment, it's not for gameplay, it's just for realism. What I've seen of the camera changes so far, just for realism. It does not take into account what players want. It does not take into account what players will find fun. And that, just on a base level, is ignorant, and it's wrong, and it's not a smart way of conducting business, and it's not a smart way of creating your game. And although I am kind of bashing parts of the community here, or not, I won't say bashing, I don't want to bash anyone, I just want to criticize the actions of people. I want to kind of point out some issues I'm seeing, but the IO devs are not innocent here either. No one wanted the camera changes, no one asked for them, no one at all. I can't think of a single person that said, hey, the camera controls in the IO need to change, because they're basic. It's a safe camera control system, and I don't think anyone has ever had a problem with it. But just this mentality of constantly needing things to be realistic is just so stupid, and it's just bad business. It's bad for the game. If you don't take into consideration what people want, people will not play the game anymore, and that's very apparent by the fact that Everima is still nowhere near the numbers that Legacy Isle has achieved. It's nowhere near popular in any sense of the word, and although it is a small niche, they could have attracted so many more people. Huge YouTubers have covered the game, and dinosaurs are a big thing in media. People love dinosaurs, and there's lots of people that love dinosaurs and survival games. So really, the draw for this game should be huge, but it's not, because the devs aren't listening, and because people are not getting what they want from the game. But back to the camera update. It's not complete yet. I do not understand how people are already criticizing something and completely crapping on it when it hasn't even been released yet. It's not even in its final form. I mean, it basically was just teased. And these kind of things in development change all the time. Half the reason that you release something like that is to receive criticism and feedback and find out if people are gonna like it. I mean, do you think Donnie just streamed it for no reason? No. He knows the IO community is incredibly toxic. He knows that there's gonna be a lot of backlash from it. So if he really just wanted it in the game and wasn't considering any changes at all, he would have just put it in the game. He wouldn't have dropped any kind of teaser, any leak, or anything like that. It would have just been put in the next update, and that would be that. And what would anyone be able to do about it? But he didn't do that. So just think about that for a moment. And it's just, people react way too negatively to everything in this game. There was a video that was posted fairly recently by Xavier. I quite like him. I think he's a very neutral party in the community, but I think that making a video where you're kind of upset about this change is a misstep. I just think it's too early to tell. And I don't want to be a hypocrite here, because a lot of my videos are about creatures on the Isle roster that aren't released yet. I base a lot of information off of their concept art. But I'm aware that these things will change. I'm essentially just considering what they were at the moment and saying, I don't think this will work. And my hope with that is that the devs will see my video and think, yeah, I understand those criticisms, and maybe before we release this, we can understand how we can make this better. And they will. Now, obviously it's not a perfect world. The devs probably haven't seen my videos, and if they have, they probably could have just tossed it aside and said, you know what, this is pointless, this is worthless, I don't see any value in these changes, and that's fair. It's totally fair for them to think that. But just being open to consideration, being open to conversation and change is something that no one in this community seems to understand. And I shouldn't say no one, because I don't want to consider myself as part of this group. And so if I'm going to say that, then inherently there are other people who would share the same mindset as me, but I don't see very much of it, and it's very concerning to me. And I wonder if I myself am so biased that I can't understand that maybe I'm part of the cycle, and I just don't know. This community is so incredibly hostile, and it's very hard to get a grasp on what side I'm on and where I should be. Because at this point, it seems like there isn't a right side to be on. And as long as you are, screaming at the developers or saying that everything they do is perfect and correct and they couldn't make any changes ever, that's the IO community. That's it. There's no in between. And I don't want that to be the case. I love the Isle. I want it to be an amazing game. And I want the community to be amazing. But it's so hard to really enjoy it and to really be hopeful for it when the devs don't listen to a word that the community says, and when they add things and try and do things that nobody has ever really wanted, and its only real reason for existing is realism, which is just a flawed way of thinking to begin with. But then on the other hand, if you dislike those changes, it's like you have to hate it. It's like you have to hate the devs for trying to do something new, or for trying to innovate with their game at all. And just both mentalities are so flawed, and they're so dramatic and so intense. There's no middle ground, there's no conversation, There's no people that can just sit down and think, how can we make this a better game? On both the dev and the community side of things. And that's so little to ask for. It's not like I'm asking for the devs to release their full game, fully released with every single one of their 50-something playables next year. All I'm asking is that there's a conversation. All I'm asking is that people can communicate with each other in a way that makes the game better. And it's just baffling to me that I should even have to make a video like this, or that other people are making a video like this, or like Dinosaurs and More are getting banned from the Reddit for just pointing out the fact that the game is becoming too toxic. How are we letting this happen? We have to reflect. We have to understand that it's just a video game, and we want it to be fun, yes, but it's not life and death. And at the end of the day, if you really have so much emotion behind your thoughts, if you're so emotionally impacted by the decisions that are made for this game, then leave. Not because I don't want you here, not because you're being toxic, even if you are, but because you're hurting yourself. Like you are hurting because of a video game. And that is just ridiculous. That's not something that anyone should do to themselves. And yet it feels like people's lives are so tied up in this game that they can't just step back and think for a moment what their true impact is. When in reality, if people just sat down and had a conversation, I think the devs would be way more willing to listen. But because the community is built on hatred and bandwagoning and just hopping on this train of thought that can only exist in the extreme, then why would the devs listen to a single thing we have to say? Why would they have any respect for us? If we want respect, and we want to be heard, we need to respect the devs. We need to respect the fact that they are working very hard to make a game that they enjoy. So, what are we really doing here? The Isle is a dinosaur survival game, or at least it's trying its best to be, and we need to treat it like such. We need to stop being so overly emotional about it. We need to stop picking sides and just sit down and just talk about it. Talk about the game. Talk about what you don't like. Talk about what you do like. Just talk. It's so much simpler than just hating on everything, than just having to have a reason to hate something or love something so much that it can't possibly be changed. I really appreciate you for listening to this whole video if you did, and I would encourage you to join the Discord to talk more. We do have good conversations there, and I think it's a really nice place to just have a really calm and collected Isle community together. And so I would love to have you. But anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys soon. I'll have more videos coming soon. And please feel free to continue the conversation in the comments. And as always, have a good day, bro.